Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my two co hosts, Michael Hall
What?
and Michael Reed.
What's up there, all you cool cats and kittens?
I still have yet to watch Tiger King. And
Really?
every time I put on Netflix, it's like staring at me in the face, and I won't click on it.
Just do it. Just dive deep into it. It's
Yeah.
exhilarating. You've never seen a character like Joe Exotic.
No, I thought so. But the thing is, the Redskins offseason has so much content coming out right now that I can't keep my eyes off of it. I can't watch shows because there's just so much to go over. And the first thing I wanted to get into today, we have a wide range of topics that we are going to do. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about a couple players that we think that could make the jump under the Ron Rivera regime, and then we'll talk about the jersey numbers that were handed out, and then the show The Jersey, what was an old show from when we were kids. It was about like kids that put on a magical jersey and went into the NFL and were able to play as a star player in the episode. And so we're going to dive deep into the imagination land there a little bit. And then we're going to talk about the Burrow versus Young up-and-coming matchup. But the first things first, Mike Reed, I'll go to you first. With this Ron
Thank you.
Rivera regime, who do you think is going to make the biggest transition and jump under the new coaching staff?
This year, I think you got to really look at Fabian Moreau. I think that Fabian Moreau was kind of playing out of place for the last few years, playing as a slot corner, playing in the inside. He's best. We said it when we drafted him, Kyle, when we first started this podcast, that he's best outside. He has a skill set to play outside. Once Fuller left, he kind of took over that role inside. But then last year, once Josh Norman got benched, finally,
Yeah.
David Moreau played fantastic. He played very good. He's got all the skills. The only reason he fell to the third round in the draft when he came out after tearing up the combine is because of a foot injury. He's raw. He's still learning the position, but I think that this year he's really going to take a jump under Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio, and he's going to have every opportunity. He's 26. He's got a contract coming up, and he's somebody who I really expect to take a big jump,
Yeah,
especially with this defensive line in front of him.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right about that. And that's actually a really good point because with the acquisition of Chase Young, it really is going to make everything else better on the corners. And we saw that once Fabian did get transitioned to the outside last year, I mean, he outperformed Josh Norman over the past 2 seasons. I'm sorry, but
Easily.
we
Right.
have to be factual about our representations here. Hall, who do you think will make the biggest transition in under the Ron Rivera coaching regime?
Uh, I actually think it's going to be Landon Collins. I think that
Mm.
everyone expected him to come in last year and just be like that kind of splash defensive, like all-star player, and just take over the defense and just be the defensive captain, outstanding player for the defense. And obviously, the D coordinator didn't use him at all like that. And
He
he had
didn't
a
use
pretty
anybody like he should
yeah,
have.
and he had a down season compared to like regular Landon
Right.
Collins like
Yeah. Right. Right.
previous seasons. But I think that with Del Rio coming in and the new front seven being reinvigorated, revived, I'll just say revived. I can't say the other word. Just being revived and then switching to the 4-3 and then getting after the passer on every play. I think that Landon Collins is going to be in the box a lot more. I think he's going to be blitzing a lot more, and I can definitely see him getting about maybe 2 or 3 interceptions or a couple of pass breakups this year as well. So I
Yeah,
definitely think that he's going to take a huge jump this year.
Yeah, and speaking of, I mean, we just talked about it. It would make a lot of sense for the Redskins to make Landon Collins' job easier, given the fact that they did pay him a whole bunch of money. If they continue to weigh on him to hold together that back end by himself, he's not going to do all that well for the entirety of his career. His body's going to shut down a little bit. But mine, I'm going to stick with defense. I think it's John Bostic, the guy that they just extended when they walked into the building, and they gave him some money because they see the potential. I think under Jack Del Rio and this coaching staff, they're going to get a lot out of John Bostic this year, and I think that he could play all 16 games and do well for this team, especially with how well he actually graded at one of the best linebackers in coverage last year. And you're talking about switching to a 4-3 defense. The linebackers in a 4-3 have to be able to cover a lot of space, and that's what John Bostic does well. So I think that he could have a huge season this year, given the
Right.
fact that it's just Jack Del Rio being added to the equation.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that there's a reason that they re-signed Bostic immediately. I think that they really like what they saw from him last year. Another dark horse I think to keep an eye on is Sean Dion Hamilton. He's somebody
Yeah.
who hasn't gotten much playing time over since he's been drafted, but when he has played, he's played very well, especially last year. Surprisingly, I know PFF has their flaws and everything, but he was our highest graded linebacker last year. He actually played very well.
Turn
And,
off your
when he's on
volume.
turn up the volume?
No, turn off your volume, Mike. Again, his phone is like bing, 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 bing.
But
I know it's our
Sean
group chat.
Dion Hamilton, he's somebody who's got great field awareness. He's good in coverage. When you go and watch some of his highlights on Twitter and some of the film breakdown, he's somebody who really stands out. And I think he's somebody who could actually emerge and get some playing time and play very well.
Yeah,
he's another Alabama boy.
Yeah, that linebacking core. I mean, it's really funny. I've talked about it before, but it's like they threw pasta at the wall, a whole bunch of noodles, trying to see which one would stick. And that's what they're kind of doing with the linebacker position. And I like it because there's so many of them at this point. You're talking about Reuben Foster, who's also unproven, who could make a huge leap under this Ron Rivera coaching staff, because we have no idea what his potential is.
Right, and that's one thing that I think a lot of Redskins fans and people don't really understand. A lot of people are saying that linebacker's a weakness. I don't agree with that. I think that the linebacker position in this 4-3 is actually going to be one of the strengths because they have so much depth. If you really look at the roster, it's hard to figure out who's going to start, with Bostic and with Thomas Davis and Cole Holcomb and Reuben Foster if he's healthy, and Sean Dion Hamilton. Ryan Anderson's going to play strong side linebacker more than likely. So there's a lot of guys there that they have that can really contribute and play solid.
Yeah, and it's really funny when you look at it because it's one of them, probably you would say, maybe one of the weakest positions, positional groups on the football team right now. And it seems like they have a plethora of options because we haven't even brought up Thomas Davis. And it's so funny how many options they have. And it was Jonathan Allen had an interview with Kevin Sheehan yesterday, and I believe he actually brought up Ryan Anderson transitioning to a middle linebacker, an outside linebacker there, and saying it actually fits to his strengths.
Yeah.
Right.
And Ryan Anderson. Oh, go ahead, Hall.
No, I was just gonna say, I could definitely see him being more like a strong side linebacker, and that fitting him well, just because he was definitely undersized as a pass rusher and was getting just pretty much manhandled by the left tackles. So for him coming off the ball, scraping and stuff like that, I could definitely see him in that role.
Yeah, he's almost perfect for it. When he was drafted, one of the things that was said about him was that even though he was a pass rusher in college, he would probably fit best as a strong side linebacker in a 4-3, and it really fits his skill set. He's a high motor guy. He's strong. He can rush the passer. He's somebody that I think would really excel in that role, and I think he's one of the guys who, when Rivera and Del Rio were looking at the roster, he was one of the people where they were like, why are they in a 3-4?
Yeah.
This guy would be perfect for a 4-3. They have him out of position, and really they looked at our entire roster and were like, what the hell was Minuski doing? What is he doing? He doesn't know what he's doing.
Well, I'm not sure if you remember, Reed, but last year, I think we were even Hall. I think we were discussing the fact, why weren't they thinking about transitioning Ryan Anderson to middle linebacker when they were so thin at the time? Because they had pass rushers, but Ryan Anderson was just sitting there idly by, and that fit his skill set better than where he was at the time, just sitting as a backup. And I could see him playing in a 4-3. When you think of Madden and you think of defensive formations, you think of the one formation where it's like strong side right, where they had the two linebackers set up in the middle linebacker spot, and then they had the one outside linebacker next to the edge rusher down the line of scrimmage. That's where I could see Ryan Anderson really excelling in this defense, because then he could move back and be in press coverage, or he could seal the edge of the line of scrimmage, which he's very good against the run. I don't think anyone is ever going to say that about Ryan Anderson.
Right. And he's a hard-nosed, do-it-all linebacker. He's somebody with a high motor. He's always been that. He's a team player. He's doesn't care about his stats. He's just going to go out there and do his job, and that's really what you want from one of those strong side linebackers. And then you look at people like Cole Holcomb, Reuben Foster, if he's healthy, who can play the will. They're fast. They're athletic. They can go all over. They can run sideline to sideline. And I think Thomas Davis may end up starting out as the inside linebacker. And if not, he's going to be able to help the team from the sidelines and just in practice, and in the locker room. He's a perfect person to have on this team.
I just don't know if Thomas Davis is going to be able to beat out Cole Holcomb for that middle linebacker spot. Because when you think about who on this defense right now fits the mold of Luke Kuechly, because that is what Ron Rivera is looking for in a middle linebacker. Somebody who can stop the run, who is aware, who can call out offensive formations, who can get the guys set up, but also can be picking off passes in the deep downfield in the cover too. And I think Cole Holcomb fits that bill more than anybody right now because he
Right.
can move in the line. He can move with the line of scrimmage. He can move out in space, and he can also cap the run. I think he's the
Right.
best fit for the middle linebacker spot, in my opinion. And that's why I
Yeah.
think Thomas Davis is probably better closer to line of scrimmage. I just don't know why they would even
Right.
put him out in space
It-
right now.
Yeah, nah.
Go ahead, Wall.
Yeah, and I was gonna say I actually love Thomas Davis in the role of like certain packages and like certain down and distances, and pretty much just being that blitzing linebacker and like I said, like you said, just playing the run, being close to the line of scrimmage, and so yeah, I can definitely see Holcomb beating him out,
Right.
but I can also see Thomas Davis because he knows the system. He's a vet.
Right.
He knows he's pretty much seen every play there is in the NFL at this point in his career.
And
So
and Thomas Davis, it's not. I know everybody wants to talk about his age, and you're right, he does have his flaws, but there are ways to mask that.
Yes.
He's 30. He's going to be 38 years old, something like that. But he still had over 100 tackles last year, and as long as you put him in position where his weaknesses are kind of hidden, where you're not going to have him single high, you're not going to have him in coverage, I think that he can really benefit this team. And another thing though is if Reuben Foster is healthy, then what is going to be the starting linebacker core? Are you going to put Foster in the middle and Holcomb at will, or are they going to switch, or what's it going to be? Because I know Reuben Foster is probably better. He came in as an inside linebacker, but he's probably better in the will where he can use his athleticism.
Right, and that's where I kind of see this defense fitting out. And that's where I'm sitting here saying, man, we're going to have some really talented players standing on the sidelines. And you're right, Hall. A lot of speed, and which goes to show that maybe special teams will be an elite part of this team this year, given with how many talented guys are probably going to be playing it.
Right, and you can never have too much depth, and I think that's very good. That's what Ron Rivera and co has been trying to do, is build the depth on this team. And with our injury history over the last few years, I think that is the way to go. And I really love what they're doing right now on the defensive side of the ball.
And if you think about what Ron's been saying in his interviews here and there, he's saying that he likes kind of like basketball, positionless players at this point.
Right.
And so a lot of interchangeable players and a lot of positions. So definitely fits the mold of what he's trying to build.
Yeah, and that's one thing that they focus on in the draft and free agency is finding guys who can play multiple positions.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm so excited.
Yeah, absolutely.
Finally,
And now
the defense that we need and should have had.
Right. No more Greg Minoski.
no more excuses, by the way.
Yeah, right.
But speaking of, Dwayne Haskins did an interview with Kyle Stackpole. I'm not really if it was like a sit down. The guys from the Redskins media team, and he did an interview with him. Were you guys able to check out his interview?
I started to read some of it, and then something came up.
A couple article clips of it.
Right, so I got to finish it.
I liked what I heard. He was very honest in his assessment of coming to the NFL, knowing the speed of the game and how it kind of hit him by surprise a little bit at first. And Alex Smith, and he talks about a lot how Alex Smith, Colt McCoy, and Case kind of like helped him and talked him through it, and all he had during this time was his parents and his dogs. And I really liked what I got away from it because, Dwayne was open and honest. But the one thing, I wanted him to talk about it because he talked about that game in particular, the game I was at. And he talked about the Detroit Lions game where they won the game, but he doesn't address the missing the kneel. And I thought that was a very good time for Dwayne to really put dirt on that and to just put it out of memory of everybody and say, you know what, I messed up. I know it was a stupid decision that won't ever happen again, I promise. That didn't happen. And that was the only thing I took away from that was like a slight negative. Besides that, I mean, the dude is just being honest and telling you about, and there's nothing wrong with being transparent with the Redskins, especially during this time where we're really starving for content.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. That Detroit game, that's a game that Ron Rivera points to a lot as one of the selling points for him to come to this Redskins team. I mean, Dwayne Haskins in the final minute, he did a fantastic job on that final drive, leading a sound field, making big throws, making big plays. And I get the whole selfie thing. Obviously, it was stupid on his part, but I do also understand from what I heard was that the play clock in the stadium was going down to zero. The clock was going down to zero. There was a malfunction. Then they restarted it. So Dwayne apparently thought that it was at zero. The game was over. Went and took a selfie. But you got to have way more awareness than that, dude. You got to understand what the hell's going on. So I get it. I think he's probably tired of playing or of talking about it. And if our biggest gripe right now about Dwayne Haskins is that game, then I think that's pretty good for him with his off the field stuff because he seems like he's working hard, man. He's lost a lot of weight. he's been in the weight room, and apparently he's doing a good job picking up the offense. So
Yeah, and but the thing is, I put it in the same category as when Kirk did the kneel down right before the second half, because my one thing I said then was, look, the Redskins won. I don't care.
Yeah,
and that's the whole point. Is look, the Redskins won. It doesn't matter. But at the one point, just acknowledge the elephant in the room.
Just
okay?
put the fire out.
Just talk about it, dude. Just say I messed up. Let's get past this, because it's something that I noticed, and if I'm noticing it, I know there's like bigger douches that are noticing it and are going to bring it up.
All right.
Yeah.
People are still talking about that on sports radio, especially 106.7 and stuff. It's like, get over it, guys. Stop. I get it, but stop.
Yeah, no, I just think that from what I took from the interview was he's just been humbled. I think that last year he definitely thought he was going to come in, be hot shit. No, you could just tell from the draft he's just sitting there like, yeah, I'm the man.
New York messed up passing on me.
Yeah, they messed up. Like, well, did they really mess up? Because after
so
last year,
far,
it didn't look like they did.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I just think that he got humbled, and I think that he's been hearing the critics, and especially with his previous coach, Urban Meyer, saying that he needs to mature more and blah, 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 stuff like that. So I just think that, like you said, he's been working hard. He's slimmed down a little bit, and from all accounts, he's doing the virtual workouts and class sessions and doing well in those. So if he can translate to the field, I think we'll be off to the races next year.
Right, and
I do think it will translate. I do think he's going to have a pretty good year next year.
Same thing. I think he's definitely going to take a step forward. And one thing to be noted, I don't know if it's true or not, but it seems like he broke up with his girlfriend. I don't know what's behind that, but they deleted all the stuff on Instagram.
I don't
Maybe
care.
She was holding back a little bit.
Was that you that showed me that video of Darius Geis or something like that? Was chilling with his girl or something like that?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Well,
I'm surprised.
I think
Darius Geis was probably taking her shopping though. Let's be real. Darius Geis is a little bit.
So apparently Darius was on Twitter, and this was a thing 2 weeks ago, but I didn't pay any mind to it. I don't care about Dwayne's love life, dude. Just win football games. That's all I care about. But Twitter was up in riots because Darius had started blocking all of Dwayne's fan accounts. And so there's a couple of accounts Bentley Haskins, for example, was one account that's a Dwayne Haskins fan account. And Darius was blocking him, and even he was like, why? What did I do?
Right.
It's why me? And it was at this time when he was FaceTiming I guess was Haskins' girlfriend.
But let's be real. Geis was probably the shoulder to cry on. Geis is a little flamboyant. I'm just going to say it. I'm still not convinced that Darius Geis isn't gay, which is fine. That's cool. But
Reed, but credit Reed. Reed, we have to be honest. You think everyone is gay.
Most people, yeah,
yes.
For sure. But definitely Darius Geis. I don't know. There's some about it, and that's been a rumor for a long time.
It took a week for you to get over that Montez Sweat video.
Yeah, no, I did. But Montez Sweat in that video, it's dude, you got to answer that.
Nah,
that
was kind of
that was a
sketchy,
little.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, right.
That was kind of sketchy.
Yeah, that was very sketchy.
We're just joking, Redskins Nation. We don't care. Nobody cares.
If you're gay, you're gay.
Yeah. Nobody cares. Odell Beckham's a great player. Nobody cares.
Right. Aaron Rodgers is too.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Stop doing this right now. But next thing I wanted to talk about, the jersey numbers came out, and there was one in particular that I had my eye on that I really appreciated, and that was Sean Davis, who picked number 36. Which was Sean Taylor's rookie number, obviously, to the Redskins hardcore fans out there. Chase Young getting the 99. Everyone already had back order of his jersey. I think you said Antonio Gandy Golden. He's wearing 10, Mike Reed?
Yeah. Yep. So if you have an old RG3 jersey, feel free to rip off that and then take it somewhere and get it stitched.
It's actually not a bad idea because there's probably hundreds of thousands of them sitting
There's
in
so
people's
many
closets
RG3
right now.
jerseys. Oh, yeah.
I still have mine.
I got
mine.
I got 2 or 3 upstairs.
Yeah. Right.
So I know other people have some.
In style though.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other one was Kendall Fuller wearing 23, taking over Quentin Dunbar's number. And 23 for this team, I think, has always balled out. You think D Hall, and before that. But it's just I love that number for Kendall Fuller, especially during the MJ documentary.
Right. Yeah, it's what he wore in Kansas City, and I a part of me wishes that he would have been like, hey, Darius Geis, let me buy 29 from you because I hate 29 on a running back. Right. But it's okay. I do like 23 on a DB, so I understand it completely. It's a good number for him.
Yeah, no, the 23's been like that kind of the number that's been passed down to the
Right.
I guess the best cornerback on the field. Like it was D Hall, then it was Dunbar. So yeah, I expect Fuller to be the best cornerback on the field next year.
Yeah. One thing that was weird about the jersey numbers is I don't know what's going on, but Redskins.com lists both Sadiq Charles and Wes Schweitzer, who was supposed Schneitzer, whatever you pronounce it, who was supposed to make the team. Some people thought that he could come in and compete with Wes Martin at left guard, and they both have them listed at 77. It could just be a rookie mini camp thing, even though they're not having it. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but
We'll ask David Bada how to pronounce it.
there you
David
go.
Schweitzer. But you're right about that. Them both having 77 is weird because generally, like you'll have a running back have the same number as like a corner.
A DB, yeah, as long as it's offensive defense.
Right, but it's really weird that both of them are listed at
Right.
77. It almost feels like Sadiq Charles isn't budging, and they haven't talked to Schweitzer yet.
Yeah, right.
Charles comes down just like, you know what? Screw it. Give me 71.
Right.
Yeah, right. He's just like, I'm going to replace you. Nobody's going to remember you. Right. One thing I'm worried about, I'm sorry, this is completely off topic, but Trent Williams, is when the Redskins play the 49ers this year, which, by the way, schedule release tomorrow, how much you want to bet Kyle Shanahan is going to try to be a dick and rub it in and throw like a tackle eligible to Trent Williams in the end zone.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Oh, no,
he hates.
Without a doubt, he's doing the coin toss.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
he'll be the team captain for the week and stuff like that. Like,
right.
People are gonna rally around him. We're gonna win this one for Trent because the Redskins wronged him.
Right. And Kyle's gonna spill all the beans about old Danny boy.
And dude, I think the funny thing is, I think this type of scheme by Scott Turner and Ron Rivera is perfect for Dwayne Haskins. I felt like, Jay Gruden's system coming in last year was not the type of system for Dwayne. Dwayne needed a run-oriented, kind of like a Dak Prescott kind of approach to an offense. That's what Dwayne needed last year. And going into this season, knowing that's what Ron Rivera and Scott Turner are looking to bring with playmakers on the outside, dude, I really think that this team could be north of 500 or at 500 or north of it. And I hate to seem like, your average fan that's saying, Redskins Super Bowl, woo! No, dude. Like, I think this can be a good team that can actually surprise a lot of people next year. And I saw Mike Clay had them as the #1 overall pick next year is projected.
Yeah, a lot. To say too. I was just like, did you see that someone had us as the #1, like the worst team in the NFL next year, the #1 overall pick, drafting Trevor Lawrence next year, and I was like, what? I mean, even like the over-unders right now is at like 4.5. It's like, you really think we're going to win 5 games?
Right.
4.5 games, 5 games?
And
like, what?
To an extent, I get it, because people who don't watch every game, from what they saw from Haskins last year, it all kind of comes down to him. But I definitely think that we have the talent to be better this year than we were last year. And if every year there's a team that goes worst to first, that happens every year. Last year the 49ers did it, and one of the best ways to do that is to have a respectable coach and to have a tough defense. That's some things that we should have. Haskins should take a pretty big step forward with a offensive coordinator who's going to play to his strengths. He's not going to try to make players fit into his scheme like Jay used to do. So I'm excited about it. I think that Haskins is going to take a pretty big step this year. I hope so, at least show us that he can be the franchise guy. He might not put up amazing numbers, but he should prove that he should get another shot in year 3.
Yeah, and I think you're onto something there, because while you're sitting there talking about Jay Gruden, I'm sitting here thinking about the offense of Scott Turner, and what comes to mind is the obvious pre-snap motions and the moving of the wide receivers.
70% on first downs that Jay used to do.
But with Scott Turner, it almost feels like the scheme is getting guys open with the motions and allowing them to contain themselves and get them in open space. Where with Jay, it was kind of my passing game is going to get you open in normal passing routes, but that's it. You got to make it go from there. And that's where I'm kind of intrigued with the Scott Turner offense with Dwayne Haskins and the other Steven Sims, Antonio Gibson, and Antonio Gandy Golden that we're adding. I feel like this offense, with the way that Scott Turner is going to be moving the motions around, where the defense cannot focus so much on Dwayne Haskins, they have to focus on the motions. Dude, I just feel like this offense is going to take a big step next year.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially with a lot of people look at the running back position and say that we have a logjam there. I think that that's another thing, kind of like linebackers. It's a good position to be in right now with Adrian Peterson and Darius Geis. If Geis can stay healthy, he's going to be a stud. I still love the acquisition of McKissick. Being able to have him and Antonio Gibson on the field at the same time is going to open up a lot for this Redskins team. And I'm excited, man. I think that this offense is getting shat on by a lot of people, a lot of pundits, but I think that it'll be a lot better than people think.
Yeah, and the one thing that I took, what is the one thing you take away from like the Carolina Panthers over the past 6 years with the running back position, besides Christian McCaffrey? That's been big dudes, right? Like big dudes. Like how many years did they have John Stewart on their team, like just running the ball at like 300 pounds? It was ridiculous. Right.
Yeah.
Kind of like in the Gibson role, honestly.
Yeah, another Memphis guy too.
But my point is, like, Ron Rivera likes the big guys, so I feel like Adrian Peterson could have a very, very big year. Given the way that they just pound the football and they love those big running backs, Adrian Peterson's the only one that fits the bill in this roster right now.
Guys is a pretty big boy too. Guys has got he's a power back. He's stronger. He's got that strong stiff arm that he's got going for him. The only thing is he going to tear his ACL in week 2?
Right. Well, my thing is with guys, it's like with guys like he needs momentum to generate power, where AP is just naturally just with power. I feel like
Adrian Peterson's a completely different animal than anybody, just about anybody, and that's why people always talk about him being old. But Adrian Peterson is probably one of the hardest workers in the NFL, and he wants to prove everybody wrong and be like, Father Time's not going to slow me down. I still got 5 years left in me. Like all that, and if anybody can do that, it's Adrian Peterson. He's a freak of nature. Remember what he did after tearing his ACL in 2012?
Yeah. Came back and run in MVP.
What's really
2,000 yards.
What's really funny that you brought that up is I was at Butler's house, and he was having a fantasy draft at the time, and Adrian Peterson was on the board. I think he was at pick 11 or 12 in the first round, and he said, "Hey, AP's there. Should I take him?" And I was like, "Honestly, I think he should." And he was like, "Why?" And he was like, "He's coming off of ACL." I was like, "Dude, it's AP. If anyone can do it, it's him." And dude, he ended up winning. He ended up winning that year.
Yeah, I believe it. It was incredible to watch that year. That's I would like to see an E60 on him rehabbing from that injury and coming back and playing. That would be incredible.
Meanwhile, he was just sitting like eating chips the whole time.
Right, you know, just naturally healing. That was one thing that the surgeons and stuff said when he came back from that. They're like, I've never seen anybody heal from an ACL injury this quickly, and he's faster and stronger than he was. Like this guy's a
walking,
mutant,
living like Wolverine.
Yeah, he's like an X-Men.
Dude, he is. Dude, you're so fun. That's so funny you said that. But speaking of Wolverine and just TV shows. There is a show called The Jersey that used to be on way back in the day, and so I wanted to go.
Disney Channel.
Was it on Disney? It makes that makes it so much worse. But I wanted to go down a path of just hypotheticals here, and in that show back in the day, these kids had a magical jersey. When they put that jersey on, they would go into a real NFL game and play as a certain NFL player at that time and play in the game. So my question to you two is, if you had to pick a player in the NFL right now, and if you could put that jersey on and go play him for a game, who would it be?
Who are we starting with?
Let's go with Hall. I'm sorry, I didn't. Sorry. I was so excited about the question. I didn't. I didn't ask one of you.
It's a good question. I would probably have to say, because I like to play receiver. That's my favorite position. It's what I played like coming up. I would definitely probably go with. Who's a good wide receiver? I'd probably go Julio Jones. I mean, he's a freak athlete, size, speed. He's always talked about as the top 2 or 3 or the best. He's been talked about it since he came into the league as one of the best receivers, if not the best in the league. And, he's just one of those guys that just makes it look easy. And to have that size, speed, and agility and just, like I said, just be an all-around just freaking nature, I would love that for a game or for the rest of my life.
No, and you're not wrong about that. But I have to go I know I'm sticking with offense. I have to go Pat Mahomes, dude. If I could for one game go play with Andy Reid calling the plays with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce out there, dude, I would have so much fun. I could stand there flat-footed, flick my wrist, and throw it 80 yards. You know, I would do that all day long. Please let me do that.
The only thing that would suck about being Mahomes is where, when you have to hear yourself talk, and you sound like a mix of Alex Jones and Kermit the Frog. You're like, arr, arr, arr. Yeah. But if I'm going to go with somebody, since you took one, I was deciding between two people, so I guess I'll go with the other guy. One was Mahomes, just because that would be incredible. But
Yeah.
the other one, despite how ugly I would be, I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson. Just having that speed at the quarterback
No, wait, hold on.
position.
Hey, before you start, Mike Hall, why did you start laughing as soon as he said ugly?
Because I knew I knew where he was going as soon as he said it.
That's messed up, Hall.
For some reason, Louisville just produces these ugly quarterbacks. Him and Teddy Bridgewater, like, just Google them, they're hideous. But Lamar, just being able to have that speed at the quarterback position and just being in an offense with so much speed and having a very good offensive line, and I just think it would be amazing to be able to have that speed and that throwing ability, that nice touch that he has. Yeah. And I would love to be Lamar Jackson as long as I didn't look like him.
You're dude, you're 100% right, because last year watching Lamar play the game of football for the Ravens, it almost looked easy.
It was a cheat.
Yeah,
it was like watching Madden in 2001 Madden.
Yeah,
like watching Mike Vick in 04 Madden.
But when the way Lamar played last year, it's like when you as a kid growing up playing football, like that's how you would like envision yourself playing in the NFL as a kid,
Right.
Just literally having everyone just being like, "Oh my God, Lamar Jackson!" Like every play just fearful, you being able to do whatever you want at all times, and having fun and doing it at best.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That would be so much fun to do. You're right, Reed.
Speaking of Lamar Jackson, like, you know how they always show that clip on ESPN of like his high school game where he's running and he kind of like stops and let the guy runs by.
Yeah, right.
He just like walks into the end zone.
Yeah.
It's so crazy because like I literally watched that game like live on ESPN when they were playing it because like.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they always play like the high school game back then and
right.
the top teams. And I was just like, I remember thinking to myself like, that dude is gonna be a beast wherever he goes. And they were like, oh, he's gonna play Louisville, blah blah blah. And I was just like. Oh, never mind. Yeah, I was like, oh, he's going to suck, whatever. Yeah. Lo and behold, this man becomes a Heisman, NFL MVP, and I'm just like, looking back on it, I'm like, I should have saw this coming.
Yeah. How stupid do you think a lot of those NFL scouts and GMs were that asked him to switch to receiver at the combine?
Oh, they probably lost their job.
Oh, my God. Yeah. He's somebody, though, I feel like even if he did switch to receiver, he would be successful.
Yeah.
Because he's got a good work ethic, man. That dude he's a very good person. You can't understand him when he talks, but he's a very good dude. He's got just natural ability for days.
Some of the best interviews ever.
Yeah. Right.
Well, the one thing is, I have to be the advocate, act as the devil's advocate here, because I feel bad for those NFL execs, because if you're thinking about the long game, right? If you're thinking about 5 to 7 years down the road, and you're looking to draft Lamar Jackson, think about Terrell Pryor. Where somebody who didn't pan out at quarterback but was able to transition to wide receiver, if I'm trying to make sure a prediction from 5 to 7 years from now to make sure I'm getting the best quality draft pick, I might see if you'd be able to make that transition to wide receiver if you're not good at quarterback. I just think they worded it wrong, and maybe it just things are the way things are. I'm just looking at it with a logical standpoint, but maybe there is some sort of negative connotation with it.
And, I mean, plus – we really haven't seen any quarterback come in here and play like that. I mean, Mike Vick played very well, but we haven't seen a quarterback with that skill set really come in and succeed.
So Mike Vick,
smaller body type, he's a skinny dude. A lot of people have been expecting him to be injured for the last 2 years, but he's really shut up a lot of these people. He's just a rare type of player. Ravens are lucky, and I hate it.
And the weirdest part about it is the fact that, like, with Mike Vick, when he came into the league, he really made his money by running out of the pocket.
Right.
He had a long arm, but it wasn't accurate. He didn't really know the offense. It was just he depended on himself to make a lot of those plays. With Lamar, he almost adds an element to the offense where he is such a good passer, they don't even need wide receivers. People going in last year were saying, their wide receivers suck, they're not very good, and so they were stacking 3 tight ends, and they were still throwing for 300 yards a game. I mean, it's absolutely unreal how good he is, and he is way better than Mike Vick was in his second year in the league.
100%. Not close.
I mean, credit goes to Greg Roman as well, because if you go back to Colin Kaepernick, what he did with them, got him to the Super Bowl. Like we did with Tyrod Taylor in Buffalo. Mm-hmm. He was a pretty solid starting quarterback for those years, and obviously with Lamar last year. So kudos to Greg Roman, because he's definitely innovating the NFL.
Yeah, and Lamar's really like the pinnacle almost like of what. Obviously, Mahomes, with his natural ability, he's the quarterback that you want. But with the way that the NFL has been going, with Lamar's speed, like a wide receiver speed at the quarterback position, and on top of that we could throw. It's just, it's unreal. And you're right, Greg Roman deserves a lot of credit for that. He said before the season that they were going to put together an offense that a lot of people hadn't seen with a lot of different concepts, and they did it, and it worked to perfection. It's going to be interesting to see how that is going forward, if NFL defenses catch up, what they do. So I'm excited to see it this year.
This is kind of random, but it kind of has to do with Mahomes, but kind of not, because you just said Mahomes. But so obviously Bill O'Brien's probably most likely going to get fired this upcoming season or after this season. Can you imagine that? I hope that they do this. I hope that the Texans can bring in Eric Bieniemy to be Deshaun Watson's coordinator.
Right.
Because could you imagine? Because then you can really compare Deshaun Watson to Pat Mahomes at that point, because they're going to be in similar offenses, and I can only imagine what Deshaun Watson would do in Eric Bieniemy's offense.
Right. Bieniemy is one of those. Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
No, sorry. I was just going to say, can you imagine how pissed Bieniemy would be a year after that job when they sent away DeAndre Hopkins?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't imagine that.
Yeah.
And they didn't even bother taking one in the draft.
Right.
They were just like, fuck
it. That's what boggled my mind. I was like, so you traded away DeAndre Hopkins, but then you didn't draft him.
I figured. I was like, at least they'll take a receiver. I guess it's a deep year. Like, it's not going to be DeAndre Hopkins, but at least they'll take somebody in round 2, and they'll roll with that. But
right, we were trying to play devil's advocate for them, like in Bill O'Brien, like trying to like lessen the blow to them, like, oh well, maybe they're like really looking at the wide receivers in this draft, and that's why they're saying, we'll push up a wide receiver to get a lot in return, so we can get another one in the draft for cheap. They didn't even do that.
Yeah. No,
Bill O'Brien, head coach, is like mediocre. He's above average. Bill O'Brien, the GM, is like
worse.
One of my favorite.
He's doing bad trades.
He's worse than Bruce Allen right now, just because he's making dumb moves. Like, that would be like Bruce Allen in the middle of Trent's prime. Obviously, hindsight, it would have been good, but trading him in 2012, 2013 for a second-round pick and a running back that hasn't played in 2 years because he keeps getting hurt. Like, you're
right. Yeah,
you got to be bad if you're lower than Bruce Allen.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I heard Bill O'Brien last week. He said, oh yeah, we're looking to extend Deshaun Watson immediately. And it's like, dude, are you sure you're even in the future plans?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you mean the owner McNair is looking to extend Deshaun Watson?
Right. What's this we talk right now? Yeah. You're not invited to that meeting. Yeah, you're not in that meeting.
I don't know. Push comes to shove. If it comes down to Deshaun Watson leaving or Bill O'Brien keeping his job. Sorry, Bill, but you're out of here.
Yeah,
right.
Let's be real. If Bill O'Brien would have made this trade or something during the season, he would have been fired by the end of the year. He just made this trade too late, knowing that he couldn't get fired. So
yeah, fire me now, right before the draft.
Yeah,
I'll call your bluff. It just didn't work out. Bill O'Brien, the gunslinger of the NFL. Oh my goodness, what are you doing? Like, I think he's like
a good way.
He's like one of those dudes that's like doing everything he can to make sure he gets fired. Like Jay Gruden at the bar, like doing everything possible, just like, get me out of here, dude.
He's trying to leave them in a worse place than they were when he took the job.
That's so
maybe he'll get lucky and go back to New England, get on that staff with Belichick.
Right, yeah, or gonna go to Penn State back there and
go back to college.
My question is, when did Houston turn into the Detroit Lions of the South, where some of the best athletes ever come to the NFL go and they don't do anything? Andre Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins, and now Calvin Johnson, Barry Johnson. Jesus.
Jadeveon Clowney didn't pan out like everybody thought he would when he went to Houston. He's still overrated. I don't care what anybody says. I still think Jadeveon Clowney is severely overrated.
No, he's incredibly. Dude, I'm not kidding you. So many Redskins Twitter accounts were saying, sign Jadeveon Clowney, trade back from number 2.
Right.
And I was like, dude, if I hear one more person say that, I'm going to wring them up by their neck.
I saw people were saying that about Ngakoue, too, with the Jaguars.
Oh, yeah, that was.
Yeah. Do a deal with the Jags and get the 9th overall pick and the 20th pick and get Ngakoue, and I was just like, no. Chase Young's going to be better than both of them. Like, wow.
Yeah, right.
And he's cheaper right now. Like, no.
Yeah, they're fucking idiots. I'm sorry. They're dumb.
I mean,
what about one thing? What about some matchups that you guys are excited for this year coming up? I'll start. One thing I'm excited for is when the Redskins play the Giants twice a year. I'm excited to see Chase Young versus Andrew Thomas. Yeah, I think that if you really look at the Redskins draft this year, them taking Chase Young, I think that the Giants almost felt like they had to take a left tackle there at 4 and get Andrew Thomas. Of course, the Cowboys ended up bringing in a very good backup quarterback in Andy Dalton. I don't know if Chase Young had any effect in that, but I'm excited to see that. I'm excited for Giants Twitter to shut up because Andrew Thomas is not the antidote for Chase Young.
Dude, I know, and I saw this one Giants account. It posted video
From high school.
From high school, and it was
Yeah.
that's where you had to go to find good tape of Andrew Thomas versus Chase Young was high school.
And if you look at it, Andrew Thomas had the same exact body type he does now. He was
Yeah.
like an NFL offensive lineman coming out of high school.
Yeah.
Chase Young was just like a skinny. He was grown into it. He was big. He wasn't skinny, but nowhere near what he is now.
Yeah, he's like our friend Joe Bainham.
Right.
He's like our friend Joe Bainham, who like in 8th grade to everyone else, he looked like a giant. And then by the time that we all grew up, he was the same height.
size.
Yeah, he was just the same height as everybody else. The same thing. But the one matchup that I think you're right, I like the Andrew Thomas twice a year. But the one that I'm more intrigued with is the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Redskins matchup. Chase Young going against Joe Burrow, showing why the Bengals picked the wrong guy and why the Redskins did. And I think that is going to be a game where the Redskins could really showcase themselves and separate themselves from the Bengals, saying, look, that's a top 5 pick team. We're not. And I think I think that's what's going to happen in that matchup, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, this is just pure, just like personal, like enjoyment. The Redskins versus Steelers matchup this year, just because if we potentially win that game, just the anguish and disappointment on Gavin's face is going to be lovely, and he's going to be in tears. And also, I would like to see Chase Young against that good Steelers.
Yeah.
They have a pretty good offense, so I'd like to see how our defense tests.
Right.
I think they have a pretty good offense as well. And they have a great defense, so obviously it's a good test for our offense as well.
Yeah.
So, that definitely I want to see that matchup this year.
I'm also very excited for twice a year. It was a fantastic matchup last year. Now he came into the division, seeing Terry McLaurin versus Darius Slay.
Yeah.
That was an excellent matchup last year. They both told each other after the game. They were both giving each other high praises. And just hearing what Darius Slay had to say about Terry McLaurin was just incredible. And I'm excited to really see Terry McLaurin in this offense. In offense in his second year, I think that people are severely underestimating him. I saw an NFL fantasy ranking where Terry McLaurin was a 32nd ranked wide receiver.
What?
Yeah.
Now,
Who did that?
On Instagram. I'll have to pull up who it is.
That's
Yeah,
literally probably because Dwayne Haskins.
Right.
Like,
I would imagine so, but I was just like,
absurd.
really? You're going to have A.J. Brown at 16 and Terry McLaurin at 32?
That doesn't make sense.
Even A.J. Brown at 16 is kind of like low. It's like
That's going to...
Well, so yesterday on my Twitter account, you could go follow me at Chronic Sports, just Kronic Sports on Twitter. But you can go, and I did a film breakdown yesterday of Steven Sims and his plays from last year. And the one thing that I took away, because I started from the back end, I started in week 17 and went to the week 1. From there, one thing that came out to me is Steven Sims's usage was later on in the season.
Right.
I don't think people really understand the matchup nightmare that Steven Sims brings to defensive coordinators, and him alone is going to make Terry McLaurin's job easier. So at the end of the season last year, the reason why all Redskins fans are so excited is because a bunch of things happened to come into fruition. It was Dwayne Haskins playing better, clicking with Terry McLaurin, and Steven Sims actually being a matchup nightmare. And
he played well with Kelvin Harmon. Kelvin Harmon did better towards the end of the year.
Right, and so it just makes you think about for a second that, man, this team is going to be very good next year, because I know everyone's saying it was a top 3 pick, but they're a lot better team than they are on paper. I mean, I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, easily. Like you said, it seems like they have the recipe to kind of do better than what all these media pundits and stuff are saying. Like this defense, I don't think people quite understand how good and talented this defense can be. And it's just with that front, it's going to be unreal. And then Haskins taking another step with some of the weapons that he has now. It's going to be very exciting to see this. It should be, of course, unless there's injuries.
Well, especially – oh, sorry, Hall.
No, I was just going to say McLaurin, Gibson, and Sims on the field at the same time. I mean, that's 4-3 speed all the way around.
Right.
And that's hard to guard with 3 guys that fast. It's kind of almost like Chiefs-esque.
Yeah, you can't play man against that. You have to go zone.
Well.
You can't play man on those 3 guys. They're going to eat you alive.
It's just a matchup nightmare. And like you said, if Haskins can take that next step, which I believe he will, it's going to be a great season for Redskins football.
Dude, I'll tell you what. In that film, I saw firsthand, if you play Steven Sims press man, you will be very disappointed. And that's what happened in the Carolina game last year. I could tell you firsthand, Ron Rivera probably went away from that game saying, okay, yeah, not doing that again. And
Right.
that's the whole point. Is Steven Sims brings that kind of edge to it, and if Dwayne Haskins is playing better and he's coming into the season confident and working hard, dude, this could be a pretty good team here. And
Right.
really going under the radar, unfortunately. But look, that's when the Redskins were at best, because even going back to 2012, they weren't expected to do all that great. 2015, they were expected to be a top 5 pick. When they're considered to be bad, that's when they do the best.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're not far removed from being a team that was a middle of the pack team like they had been for a few years in a row, really. When, of course, they brought in Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne when they were kind of in that middle section, and that's where I think that this team should be next year. I don't think that they're as bad as people think.
Now, one of the things I had read on Twitter actually made me think a little bit. It was like one of those it was a questionnaire, but it was like they had 4 options, and it was like which one of the bottom feeder teams has the best chance of moving up into being the number 1 seed. It was like the Lions, the Redskins,
the Panthers,
Panthers, and then who was the other one? I can't remember.
What division was that?
Oh, it's Cardinals. It was Cardinals.
Yeah, right.
And I responded. I in my heart, I know it's the Lions. They're most likely, but I'm gonna sit here and tell you, I think it's the Redskins. The Giants and Cowboys both have 2 new head coaches. The Eagles are 1 injury away from being a top 5 pick to Carson Wentz. I don't care what anyone says. And the Redskins just got a lot better in the organization and on the football team. I think they had the best chance to do it.
Right. Yeah. If you look at the divisions, like you said, and Dallas's offense should be fine next year, but their defense is really just 1 injury away from them not being able to stop anybody.
Is anyone acting like Mike McCarthy is like some sort of godsend?
Right. Exactly.
I mean, people think just because he took the year off and watched film and came up with new ideas and schemes that all of a sudden he's going to be like the next offensive genius. Like, no.
That's what got him fired in Green Bay.
It was not being able to use Aaron Rodgers as well as he should. But if you really look at the other divisions, I mean, so I saw a lot of people comment on that the Cardinals have they have improved their football team. But do you really think that they're going to overthrow the Seahawks or the 49ers or even the Rams that people are forgetting about, who are just a season removed from the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the Lions, they have to go against Aaron Rodgers, the Bears defense, the Vikings, who are just good all around. I mean, it's going to be hard for some of these. And then, of course, the NFC South, where the Panthers have to compete with Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, and Drew Brees.
Yeah, that was the dumbest one I saw, because right there I was like, okay, yeah, they're not going to. But with the Lions, the reason why I think that is probably the Hail Mary.
That division could be open, too.
Because of Aaron Rodgers right now, the whole discrepancy with Matt LaFleur and the organization with the drafting of Jordan Love. Then you're talking about Nick Foles going into Chicago. We don't know how that's going to pan out. Maybe that whole relationship fizzles out and goes away. And then you're talking about Minnesota. They just lost Stephon Diggs. We don't know if that offense is going to be the same next year. And they've lost some guys on defense in Xavier Rhodes. I know they did a lot in the draft, but I just think there's a good case for the Lions, but the most probable case is the Redskins.
Should be the Redskins. Yeah, I think you're completely right. You know this, Kyle. I love Matthew Stafford. I think he's one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL, but I just don't trust Matt Patricia. Not at all. Not as a head coach. I think that he's just completely in over his head. But if any of those teams, I think that them and us are in the best position to do so. I just think it will be us, because I can't count out an Aaron Rodgers-led team, and I can't. The Vikings, I think, are just very good all around. Bears are only a couple years removed from being a better team, but it all depends on Trubisky. But I think that the NFC East always has so much fluctuating that I could see the Redskins end up creeping up this division.
I was just going to say also, there hasn't been a back-to-back winner in the division since the McNabb and the Eagles.
Right.
So, I mean, this division's known for going worst to first, like every year. The basement team going to the top. So it can definitely be done. And, Kyle, you know this. Every year I look at the Redskins roster, I say, this is about a 9-7. Here and there, swing game.
I think we all do. Right.
Yeah, it's a 10-6 game on a swing game.
Right.
And I honestly believe this year, I know we got a pretty hard schedule, but just on paper right now, I think they're at least 7-9, 8-8.
Yeah,
so.
right.
Yeah, and the reason
the biggest. Oh, go ahead. Oh, okay. I was about to, the biggest question to me, I think, is the left tackle position. But I think that there are ways to mask that with the tight ends that they brought in and some of the guys that they brought in. So I think that this team will be a lot better than people think.
Yeah, you're 100% right about that. I definitely had some on the top of my mind, and now I've completely lost it.
That's why I did it. That's why I cut
regards
you
to
off.
the Redskins. Oh, man. Killing me, Smalls. Killing me. But basically all I was going to say is This team is a team that is a lot better than people are giving them credit for, because in years past, yeah, people have said, the Redskins, this is a good team on paper, but this is actually the first team on. This isn't like Santana Moss at 32 years old. This is a wide receiving core that you can actually be excited about, because other teams would love to have these guys on their field. They would love to have them on their teams. We have two guys on the defensive line, Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, who teams would give up a first-round pick for in a heartbeat. Then we have Matt Ioannidis and Tim Settle behind there, and that doesn't even include Chase Young, who every team in the NFL wanted besides the Cincinnati Bengals this year. So this, for the first time in a long time, dude, I'm 30 years old, just turned 30. This is one of the best-looking teams I've seen in Washington since I've been able to think.
Right, and this is one of the only times that I can remember that you don't feel like, okay, well, it's just going to be typical Redskins because we still have Dan Snyder and we still have Vinny Serrato or Bruce Allen. It's like, okay, this is a team that it seems like hopefully Dan Snyder's kind of learned his lesson. We got a guy in there who's well-respected, everybody seems to love, and he knows what he's doing. And I really think that this Redskins team will surprise some people. Like you said, everybody's hating on the wide receiver core. People have been doing that forever, but I think that they're a lot better than people give them credit for. I think that the weapons that we have on this team should actually be very more than serviceable, that they should produce a lot of big plays, and I think that should only help Dwayne. And of course the defense is going to be a very, very, very dangerous defense that's going to stay on top of teams and smother them, and the only way you can really get around that is by having a very, very good offensive line, which not every team in the NFL does.
Yep. I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, the offense, the NFL is going towards offense and the passing game and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, defense wins championships.
Still takes a defense, right?
Yep. So, yeah.
But the thing is, to me, when you look at the weakness of this team, tight end and left tackle, but the tight end spot in particular, there's multiple teams every year who continue to make the playoffs with no names at the tight end position.
Right.
And they can make some. And look, Travis Kelce, these other guys, they were not big names when they blew up. They became big names.
Right.
And that's why I trust this coaching staff with the tight end position in particular. Now, the left tackle, I think that is a legit case. And I think that needs to be talked about, and it needs to be addressed. I believe so. But I think Cornelius Lucas is the diamond in the rough there. I think that they're really banking on him taking that spot. I love City Charles. I think that he is going to be a great left tackle. I've just, in a shortened offseason, we've talked about any podcast. I know I'm going to repeat myself. I'm just not sure if he's ready.
Yeah, not year one, but that's the thing. Over the road, just get him some experience. Down the road, get him some experience. And the tight end position, like you said, these guys like George Kittle, Travis Kelce, they're all mid-round picks, but they all have one thing in common, and that's their size and their speed and their blocking ability. Logan Thomas is somebody who's right there with them in terms of his athletic ability and his size. And I think he's really somebody that this coaching staff, there's a reason they're high on him. There's a reason that they didn't address tight end. And I think that they really, really like what they see from Logan Thomas.
I mean, I was one of the people that was like, we need to get a tight end. We need a playmaker at tight end. And I'm not going to lie, these past couple podcasts and everyone talking about Logan Thomas these past couple weeks, I've watched a little bit of his highlights here and there. I remember a couple of highlights he had last year with the Lions.
Right.
I'm starting to come around the bend on him, Like, I can definitely see him doing some things.
Right. And to be honest, like both of you guys have said, you can get by without having an elite tight end. That's more of a luxury, I think. Right. I think Kansas City's offense would be fantastic with or without Travis Kelce. That's nothing against Travis Kelce. I mean, he's dominant. He's one of the best tight ends in the NFL. But I still think that with Mahomes and that receiving core, that would still be a very good offense.
Yeah, when you think about Carolina, I mean, look, Greg Olsen is a great athlete. He is. But the thing is, he's just been solid. And he's been consistently there in a good tight end for them. He's gotten them to the Super Bowl and far. And that's the point. You don't need one of those great playmakers at tight ends. You just need a guy like Logan Thomas, who comes from Virginia Tech, a pro-style offense, who was a quarterback, who knows what a quarterback looks for in a tight end. So immediately you have that connection. He's a big guy, got a wide frame and a big wingspan. He's going to be able to go get those high balls. And he's smart enough and strong enough to do it, in my opinion. He's a blocking tight end.
Yeah, and one thing about Logan Thomas is if you compare his combine numbers from when he came out as a quarterback to the tight end class this year, he would be among the top 2 or 3 tight ends in this class coming out in terms of his athletic ability, in terms of his 40 time, his vertical jump, his bench press. Like he did very good at the combine when he was coming out.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've just been like, as a Redskins fan, been spoiled for the past X amount of years, because like going from Chris Cooley as a great tight end
Right.
to Jordan
Jordan
Reed
Reed,
as a
Fred
great
Davis
tight
had his
end. Fred
years,
Davis
right?
had a couple of years here and there. So it's like
Steven Alexander in the late
Steve,
90s.
exactly. So it's like we always have that good tight end that's been like pretty much the dominant player on the offense, and
Right.
to see them go away from that, I was kind of thrown off of it. But again, it's just someone else's time to shine, become a household name. So I
I
think
just
Logan Thomas can actually
I,
be that guy.
I just don't understand why you guys went through all those names and you're not going to talk about my boy. And when I watched film yesterday of the Eagles Redskins game, Week 1 last year, and Vernon Davis taking a
Oh yeah,
very
yeah. Forgot
minuscule
about VD.
passing down and turning it into a touchdown
That was
at dang near
amazing.
40 years old.
Yeah.
My goodness,
Yeah,
I have to
right.
give a lot of credit to Vernon and what he gave to this
Forgot
Redskins
about VD.
franchise. Dude,
Yeah.
remember when I think it was two seasons ago against the Eagles? Remember he had that go route that he scored a touchdown on? Was that to Kirk? Did Kirk throw that to him?
I don't remember.
Do you remember his first year when he was here? He ran a go route. I think it was against the Eagles or Giants. And it was on the left sideline, and he scored a touchdown on it. He like ran past everybody.
I still love the one from this past year in the first quarter, the one that you're talking about, where he hurtled that defender, that Eagles defender,
He
took it.
started
You're just
crying.
like, you're 40. Yeah, it started crying,
Yeah.
and I was like, no pro athlete cries more than Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis has cried multiple times
Yeah, when he got
on the football field.
the catch
when
2.0.
yeah, right.
Do you think when he hits like a
exactly.
do you think when he hits his max in his bench, you know, he's like, oh, yeah,
Yeah, he's like, I'm so happy. I would hate to watch a movie with him. I bet that dude fucking never watched The Notebook with him.
You
That
gave
guy
me
would be
buffalo sauce on my
crying.
French fries?
It's like, you're a pro athlete. You're 40. Be 40. What are you doing? You're crying?
No, but you know, that's probably one of the most iconic clips in the NFL. Vernon Davis crying in that NFC
Yeah.
conference championship game.
Yeah.
That was
a
a
crazy game, man.
When Mike
crazy game.
Singletary kicked him off the field. Remember that? But that was before he broke out.
Do it. Can't win with him. Can't do it.
Yeah, that was so funny. I bet he cried there in the locker room. 100%. 100% he cried.
I love Mike Singletary because, you know, I have a thing for the 85 Bears and that kind of defense. That was awesome. You know,
That's why you like Rivera.
I'm a Ron Rivera mark, and that whole thing just so absolutely ridiculous to see Mike Singletary completely screw up that 49ers team and then turn around and then come in and it turns into a top 5 defense immediately.
Right. Yeah.
Poor Mike Singletary, man.
Those tell you what coaching does, man. Coaching is like
Yeah.
there's one thing in NFL or any other sport is coaching matters.
Right. Yeah. And NFL is more of a team sport than anything. You're completely right. It matters the guys around you and the coaching. And that's why in the NBA, LeBron James, they will cycle through coaches. When he was with the Cavaliers, they'll do whatever. But as long as you got that LeBron James or something, you're going to win. And in the NFL, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you need 22 guys that are going to go out there and play, 53 actually, because, I mean, I don't want to, I'm just counting the starters, but and a good coaching staff. You got to have a good coaching staff.
Yeah. It was funny because Jimmy Moreland the other day had retweeted this NFL player's account. Please forgive me, I don't remember his name. But he basically said, you know, in the NFL, all the talent is basically the same, but the way that guys progress and get better is mentally. That's where a majority of getting better in the NFL is. And Jimmy had retweeted and said, you know, 100, like that's facts. And it's true because that is, when you think about it, like when you think about it from a macro scale, you know, when you think about a big scheme, you know, these guys and their talent level, they can't be that far off from one another. You know, you're talking about the best of the best. And only guys like Chase Young are really the ones that separate themselves from everyone else. So you have to imagine what is the difference between them, and it's the mental game. And I think he's 100% right.
Yeah, I mean, Marcellus Wiley says it all the time when I watch Speak for Yourself, and they're talking about NFL topics and stuff like that. The NFL is literally 80% mental and 20% talent. And the guys that have the 80% mental down are the guys that excel, have long careers, become the guys that get paid at the 2 or 3 contracts. And the guys are just like, oh, I'm talented, I can get by on talent. They're the ones that are out the league in 2, 3, 4 years.
Right.
Get a second, third contract. So you're exactly right.
Yeah, look at DeMarcus
everybody,
Russell.
when you go to the NFL, everybody's talented. Every single person is. It's all about the work that you put in and your mindset. I think that's completely true. That's the one thing that they tell college players. You're not going to be able to dominate with your athleticism like you did in college because every single person in the NFL is just as athletic as you.
Yep.
Yeah, and
tackles running 5, like run 5, like 5.0 40s, like come on,
right. Yeah.
And it really goes to show, and that's how like you can really see how undrafted free agents make it and become stars in the NFL because there's only a certain amount of people who really get the grasp of what it means to be great. And
Right.
there's guys like Larry Fitzgerald who hold that title. Guys like DeAndre Hopkins who hold that title. Julio Jones. They work
Yeah.
really hard at what they do, and they don't do anything wrong. And credit to them
Right.
because they're consummate pros.
And yeah, and there's no position in the NFL that's more true about than quarterbacks. Quarterbacks, it doesn't matter if you're the most naturally gifted guy in the world. If you don't go in there and work your ass off and you're not the first guy in the building and the last to leave, you're not going to have success in the NFL. And,
Yeah,
and that's
Brock
what it comes
Osweiler.
down to. Yeah. Look at Paxton Lynch, man. Remember him?
Yeah, you can be 6'6" and you can throw it 100 yards. It doesn't matter
Right.
if you can't
Marcus
hit your
Russell.
checkdowns on time.
I,
You're not going to make it in the NFL.
I still think that the funniest story ever was the story that came out like a year or so ago about Jamarcus Russell, about that, where his offensive coordinator was like, we wanted to see if he was studying film, so we gave him a DVD. It was something random, it was some movie or something, but we told him this was the game film, the game tape for this week. Watch it and tell me what you think, and report to me on Monday. But then he reported on Monday. I was like, so how'd that film session go? Oh man, it was great. What'd you learn? I learned a lot, man. I know what they like to do. Let's go out there and practice. And he was like, I gave him a movie. He didn't touch that DVD.
Dude, guaranteed that DVD didn't even leave his car.
100%.
Oh, he probably threw it in the trash on the way out the door.
Right. Or he really did watch it and he was offended that he did that. And he was like, you know what? Fuck him. Watch this.
That's a terrible strategy by Jamarcus Russell. Man.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't seem like the sharpest knife in the drawer. So.
Right.
I mean, this is the same guy that was like coming to practice like drinking lean. So I mean,
Yeah, that's so funny. What about Maurice Claret drinking Grey Goose and Mike Shanahan? Mike Shanahan apparently was at practice, and he used to always keep it in his Gatorade water bottle. And Mike Shanahan went up there, knew he was drinking something, just to like scare him, went up to him and like picked up his water bottle and squirted it in his mouth. And Maurice Claret was like, no, what the fuck, no. And Mike Shanahan was like, get off the field. Good luck.
Dude,
it's
that
like
is a
Monty
great.
Ball, man. That man was like showing up to practice like drunk, practicing drunk.
Yeah.
Apparently in like Wisconsin, like in college, he was like drunk all the time too, and he was like
God.
balling out, which is like crazy to me.
Yeah,
Dude,
it is.
it is so funny because that Mike Shanahan being a part of that because it brings you back to Albert Hainsworth.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
having
my God.
having to
Have
do
you-
the gasser test.
Did you? I saw a thing on YouTube a couple days ago about it was Clinton Portis and maybe Santana Moss talking about Albert Hainsworth when he faked being injured. I think it was against the Eagles, and he laid on the ground, and everybody in the stadium was like, "Man, like this guy, like we hope he's okay." They're all praying for him. Everybody on the sidelines was taking a knee and holding hands. Albert Hainsworth went out, and like Clinton Portis was talking to Santana Moss, like, "Man, I just don't know how much longer I can do this. Like, I don't know how much longer I want to play. Like, shit like that can happen. Like, you can get hurt." And then all of a sudden, Santana's like, "Man, look." And they look over, and Albert Hainsworth's jogging off onto the field, all happy and fat, and Clinton Portis was like, "At that moment, I realized I really am done with the NFL because look at this fat fuck just being like, you're not even hurt. You just had everybody in here praying for you, and you're completely fine because you're too lazy and wanted to go back to the locker room."
Dude, the Albert Hainsworth days. Oh my goodness. We
What
we
a
could
time to be a Redskins
dude,
fan.
I know,
we could make a
God.
podcast just based on that time period alone. I mean,
Albert Hainsworth stories.
John Beck, Rex Grossman, that whole quarterback
Yeah.
feud. Oh my goodness. But before we leave here, I wanted to talk about with a rant that I had yesterday on Twitter that I think is a big problem, especially with this whole quarantine issue. And that was Albert Breer was on with Grant and Danny yesterday, and he had actually made a comment that he knows a couple owners in the NFL that would rather hold the NFL starting until November so that way they can have fans in the stands because they don't want to open the NFL in September with the possibility of losing out on revenue from the fan attendance. They don't want to do that, so they want to push it back to November to allow fans to be there. I hate that. What do you guys think?
I saw your tweets about it. I completely agree. Like, we're going to go give you money, pack your stadium every week. And the one time that we need help in America and people need something to look forward to during all this, and you're just going to be like, nah, we can't make any money off of it. You're going to make money off of the networks. You're going to make money from views. You're going to make money from merchandise. But you don't want there to be football because you can't make money from players in the seats. It'll be fine by next year. Who knows? Maybe even halfway through the season. You're going to make that money. Why would you not? Like, that's just so disrespectful. I feel like it's such a slap in the face if they ended up doing that.
My whole thing is it's an investment into America, into Americans. Because if you tell America, we have football coming for you, we got your back, we're gonna make sure you're entertained during this quarantine, I can guarantee you, this America is gonna flip crap, and they're gonna go out and they're gonna go buy. They're going to go online. They're going to start buying merchandise for those games and getting pumped up and ready to go. You're still going to generate that revenue. And this time, for you to say we're not going to make that money off of it is complete crap, in my opinion. America is starving for content right now. The draft, where all you do is pick players, blew up over any other thing that was on times right because the America wants viewers. They want content. They want something. And it's just ridiculous.
Everybody is freaking out right now over a documentary about a player who hasn't played since the early 2000s, about a season that was 23 years ago, and that America gathers every Sunday night and watches The Last Dance. Like, that's how starving people are for sports right now.
People are watching Korean baseball. Like,
That's the perfect example. Right.
And that's why I think it would be a perfect investment, be the only one doing it, because I think the headline, if you would say, quote, the NFL helped America through a pandemic even when it wasn't in their best interest, unquote. Right. I think that would be one hell of a headline for the NFL.
Not only that, like, once they do come back, you don't think that every single fan of that team is going to come to that stadium and pack the stadium? It's going to be packed every single week going forward from that point on. Like, so... It's just stupid of them to come out and say that, whoever the owners were. I guarantee it was probably like, I can't even think off the top of my head who's like a shitty owner. Probably like the Texans owner, like Steve McNair and people like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was probably the Ravens owner.
One thing I heard, I don't know how much truth is behind it. I saw some people say it wasn't true. Some people say that it was true, is that spring training part 2 is going to begin in June, and that the MLB is going to play games July 1st, and each team is going to be playing in their own stadium, of course, and they're going to be hosting games from their stadiums, which would be amazing.
I think that's where we're headed right now. I think we're at the ass end of this. This morning in D.C., I was working right near the White House, and the potbellies, I noticed a worker walk outside, look at me, and walk back in, and I was like, that's weird. What are you doing here?
Right.
And I looked at the door, and it said, we're open now. And then Larry Hogan just announced that Maryland is open to golf. Starting tomorrow. So I think that we're right now going to start to see some momentum in the whole country opening up. But first, we have to acknowledge the fact that we're not trying to harm anybody else. If you're going out there for any of these sporting events, just wear PPE. Just don't sneeze on other people. Just be cognizant. Don't be a dirty piece of crap when you go out to places. I don't understand why this is so hard for people and why we're all freaking out, yelling at people who want to be able to go outside and do things. Like, why are you telling them they're an idiot and they're gonna cause everyone else to die? Don't leave your house then, dumbass. If you're worried about dying, let the other people go and live their lives.
That has been my thing from the get-go. It's like, well, if you're that worried about it, stay inside, or it's like, wear a mask and you'll be like good.
It's going to be super interesting to see though what happens with the Jets and the Giants, because New York's not getting out of this anytime soon. New York's fucked for a while, so it's going to be interesting to see what the Jets and the Giants do. If they're going to have to play in a different state or what.
Yeah,
because they got to have their training camps and stuff, I mean, New York's like a war zone with this. Or the Giants can just not play this season. That would be tight.
I think that the only thing that they can do is go fanless, and that way they can just play it straight up, or they can play in a neutral site.
What are they going to do about the training camps and stuff with 75 players plus coaches? That's like gathering well over 100 people.
Right, so, but that's why you make the preemptive measures.
Right. I mean, there's things they can do at different days. They can have, they can do different groups, whatnot. But it's going to be interesting to see how the NFL does that.
Yeah, that is certainly true, and hopefully things start really speeding up, so that way we can open up training camp on time. And rookie minicamp would be going on right now, but it's not. But look, hopefully that turns out soon.
I was looking forward to Redskins training camp this year too.
Oh, I love Redskins training camp. They're saying that they are going to start training camp on time, so. We'll see what happens. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. All right, guys. Well, that's it for this episode. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. We might have another episode for you tomorrow. I think we will. It's not an if. They are releasing the schedule tomorrow. So we're going to have just a brief episode for you guys, just going over the schedule every week and how it will shape out. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
And I'm Old Dad.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Redskins football. Woo!
Woo!